Hi, I'm Alexandra.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Tommy.
And you're watching Movie Buffs. So, of course, for our inaugural episode, we're talking Deadpool. From the moment this opening credit sequence began, I knew this movie was going to be perfect. Well, let me back up. As perfect as a superhero film can be. I'm sorry, as good as it was, I have to group it in a separate category from what I like to call real cinema. But for everything it accomplished, Deadpool is a masterpiece of its kind. Everything about it worked. The constant reflexiveness, the absolute wicked sadistic humor, and Ryan Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, let me salute you. Acting isn't easy, especially comedic acting. Add on the extra layer of difficulty by having to make your character pop while being covered head to toe in red spandex, and losing all ability to convey emotion through facial expressions. Like, damn. My only gripe with this film was the X-Men crossover. It just felt out of place and forced, and the random X-Men characters felt in the way and kind of cheesy. But aside from that, like, really, really great. As I mentioned before, the film being self-reflexive and breaking the fourth wall was definitely its most standout feature. It was in this aspect that Deadpool became more than just another Marvel movie. It's actually broke free of all typical conventions we see recycled over and over again. The director Tim Miller makes something so unexpectedly creative and fresh, which is a big credit to his name considering he has practically no directing experience before Deadpool. So, in summation, if you can handle the language, the gore, the ridiculously long sex sequence, this film definitely earns its R rating. It's a wonderful change of pace from the Oscar snores and the sci-fi bores.
Alexandra, I really agree with a lot of things you said. The thing you have to remember about Deadpool is that, yes, it's a Marvel movie, it's a superhero movie, and a lot of people were calling for this film for a long time, but people were just too afraid to make that R-rated, gory, self-reflexive film that you touched on a lot. It's very aware of its flaws. Like you said, the X-Men crossover is kind of, it's a bit clunky, but there's just a point in the film where they just say how they don't have enough money to do this, and I love that. I think that's great. I think audiences love it when a studio is willing to admit to, its limitations. I think the big thing to take away from this film is because it's an R-rated film, and it came out in February, which is normally when big studios just kind of dump their crap out into the void, and if they make any money off of it, great. If not, they live with it. But this is breaking records. If you know anything about him or anything about Deadpool, I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all with what you're going to get from this film.
But no, I completely agree with you guys. Everything about Deadpool works, and it's the rare movie that does exactly what it tries to. It accomplishes exactly what it set out to do. I don't think anyone at Marvel or Disney or whatever overlords greenlit this movie actually cared what happened to it or what was in it, because it was in development hell for so long, and they just kind of let it slide. But that's why this is so good. It doesn't have much of a budget as far as superhero movies go, but it makes fun of that by constantly breaking the fourth wall, and that lack of oversight let the movie become what it was. It let the writers make fun of the superhero genre. It let Ryan Reynolds have the freedom to play this character the way he was in the comics. It let Tim Miller, the director, it gave him the freedom to go all out with just the craziness and the lampooning of all these different Marvel properties. The budget does hurt it in a few places, though. They actually had to cut 9 pages of action scenes from the script because they couldn't afford them, and it's pretty obvious where those are when you're watching the movie. And then I keep coming back to the X-Men thing. They joke about how they couldn't afford more than 2 X-Men, but that's actually, they couldn't afford more than 2 X-Men. and more importantly, they couldn't afford X-Men that viewers are familiar with or care about. If you've seen the other movies, you've seen Colossus, but he was never more than a bit character. And in this one, he's just kind of an annoying, uptight Russian. And then the other one is Negasonic Teenage Warhead, whoever that is. Even though they make it work, it's funny, and they make fun of her a lot because she's teenage emo. But you can tell that that wasn't what they were going for originally. But this is Marvel's best movie since at least Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, and it is a Marvel movie. And my only concern with this is that because it's a Marvel movie, they franchise it and they turn it into the monster that this movie made fun of. All right, well, that's all for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Movie Buffs. We're hoping to bring you another episode every week, just about everything movies, whenever something new and notable comes out. So check us out and make sure to visit cuindependent.com for anything you need regarding CU or Boulder news right here.